My name is Bluestone. I'm the founder and CEO at CyberDuck. Pretty much been a practitioner for over 20 years now. Basically, CyberDuck, a digital agency, as Katie said, we specialize in brand strategy, digital transformation, and developing sort of progressive web apps. We work with clients like Cancer Research, the Bank of England, so we're just redesigning their corporate site, Royal College of Physicians, Mitsubishi Electrics. We've got quite a huge range of clients, which is really good, both sort of large and small. And today I'm going to talk about, introduce what digital transformation is, what it isn't, and then sort of go through our principles of digital transformation and how we do things at CyberDuck. If you do have any questions or sort of terminology that you don't understand, just feel free to put your hand up and I'll try and sort of answer as I go along. But yeah, essentially, what is the difference between business transformation and digital transformation? So, business transformation with a digital spin has been around for about 20 years, where companies like Marks and Spencer's started to stick RFIDs or radio frequency IDs on pallets to help with things like stock management and inventory control and see what's going in from one warehouse to another. So again, that was all fantastic. Then HP, in terms of their servers and data centers, they basically took 50 data centers, consolidated them into 3, and they basically had a cost saving of 50% and performance increased 250%. So there's really big kind of transformations, but essentially it's all digital. But they're not sort of what we would call digital transformations. I'll explain sort of why in a moment. Business transformation is not a new thing, but digital transformation is, because it's all about the customer. It's about putting the customer, as well as efficiencies, at the very forefront of the initiative that you're doing. I think what's really sort of accelerated things is the technology as well. So the sort of technology that we're dealing with today is totally transformative compared to what we used to have a few decades ago. I mean, I can't believe that it's been 10 years now since this moment over here where the iPhone was sort of released, and it's been kind of almost unparalleled in terms of the advances that we've had with things like Siri, personal assistants, app stores. It's just incredible. And yeah, where pretty much anyone can deploy their own sort of transformative kind of experience to the end user within, very quickly. And we're also dealing with the fact that just sort of last year alone, there were 5.5 billion devices connected to the internet. And it's predicted by 2020 that there'll be 20 billion devices connected to the internet in that year, which is a huge amount of technology that's connecting all of us together. When we're dealing with a slightly different generation, we're dealing with millennials. Hands up if you're a millennial. Cool, so quite a few of you here. There's quite a lot of myths about millennials, that they don't like to pay for things and blah, blah, blah. But actually, I just did a quick sort of hands up in the office today and asked the millennials, do you actually pay for your music for Spotify? And most of them put their hands up and say, yeah, we pay for that, or we pay for iTunes. So there's a lot of myths, but I guess what is true is there's sort of various nuances to their user behavior in terms of some of them may prefer Instagram and sort of things that, let's say, the previous generation may prefer Facebook. So of course, different generations will be slightly different, but overall they're the same as their parents and grandparents. They're loyal, they want to purchase properties and stuff like that. So there's some great sort of articles out there about millennials and myths about them. And there are also millennials engaged in fashion in a sort of very different way, where sort of technology now is influencing fashion quite dramatically. What I mean by that is things like Fitbits are being worn left, right, and centre now, and they're essentially devices that can track how many steps we take every day. You can also, using the apps, sort of insert your calorie intake. It even tracks of how you sleep at night. So it's all sort of fascinating. And when it connects to things like Amazon Alexa, using the sort of various kind of integrations and skills, you can you know, even ask Alexa how many calories you burned yesterday and it will tell you that. So yeah, things are becoming fashionable, and that sort of changes whole paradigms for brands and organizations. One of my favorite examples of sort of really successful digital transformation is Disney's Magic Band. Has anyone worn one of these Magic Bands before? Because I'd love to talk to you afterwards. So basically, if you go to Disneyland in Florida, you get one of these bands and you just kind of walk into the park with it. It knows who you are. You receive the band before you go to Disney World. So, and once you're there, you can use it to pay for services. So you can use it to be identified by different kind of rides that call your name. You can use it to go into the hotel as well. So it's a really fantastic type of kind of way that designers are moving off screens and into sort of the world of sensors and just sort of interacting kind of very, very differently with us. So it's really important to remember that. And I mentioned earlier that before digital transformation, we had business transformation, which is about efficiency. But what if you can combine, you know, the user experience and the efficiency for the business in one hit? That's where I think you really win. So here's a chatbot that CyberDuck developed. It's a quick video for one of our clients, where a user is essentially wants to find out how much money they can save with a heat pump compared to, let's say, gas central heating. So essentially the chatbot is programmed to predict and know what the user is going to ask, and instead of the user having to, you know, send forms or pick up the phone to ask questions, this particular app or bot is essentially communicating backwards and forwards, saving time and money, and making the user experience better. So what is digital transformation? This is kind of obviously there are a lot of interpretations, this is my one. It's user-focused business transformation, and its purpose is to be a catalyst to brand, efficiency, and people initiatives. And it does require a lot of energy to get right. I think the three main human ingredients, if you're interested in, you know, whether it's doing it in your organization or working with clients. I mean, a lot of you guys presumably will go and work in like startups, progressive businesses, consultancies, and you'll be working with larger organizations that may or may not have those ingredients, but essentially boldness is about being innovative and sort of really bold. Inclusiveness is about getting everyone involved in your digital transformation, and grit is about perseverance and never letting go, just continuing to do it because it takes time. It's not a quick sort of fix. And the impact is pretty much everyone. You know, it impacts everyone in an organization. And impacts the sales team, the legal teams, the finance teams, the operations, even the suppliers. I mean, Toyota, who invented sort of the concept of lean, they helped their supply chain, you know, all of their suppliers to optimize their kind of processes so they can work better with Toyota, and Toyota can deliver a better sort of product and experience. So it's not only something that you do in your organization, you have to do it with your suppliers and your supply chain as well. It's something important to remember. My favorite example is Virgin America, where they took their entire website and basically scrapped it and turned it into a single web page application using something called Angular, which is a technology, but I'm not going to talk really about that. What I'll talk about is they decided to remove all photography from the website, which is almost unheard of. So instead of sort of, if you're in New York and you want to go to Texas, instead of seeing photos, there's icons, everything's on one page, so you pick the destination, you pick the time, and then obviously you pay without leaving the page. Now they had to change a lot of the processes, the terms and conditions, so obviously that means sitting down with lawyers, you know, which everyone hates, but doing that at the beginning as opposed to at the end to make sure that they're on board with things. Yeah, so the first question really is who sort of drives digital transformation in an organization. So I'd say it has to start at the very top. You can't just sort of, you know, you can suggest it, even if you're sort of an exec or an assistant or a manager, but you have to get buy-in from the very top people. And I have a friend who you know, she's not necessarily very senior, but she's trying to influence her manager and her boss to kind of, buy into that concept. And this is where sort of, I guess, selecting the right internal resources to drive it. It needs to be someone probably quite charismatic in the organization that has an influence. And also potentially bringing in like a digital agency or consultant like CyberDuck, for example, because we had experience doing it in a lot of places as well. And part of the design of the digital transformation is actually doing, risk assessment, looking at the opportunities as well, because it could be that it's not even viable for your particular organisation. So you have to look really carefully at sort of, the purpose and why you want to do it. A good place to start is always sort of with the 5 W's, what, why, how, where, who. Always good. To ensure that the program goes correctly, here are the sort of principles that we're going to introduce. So the first one is about people. And if there's one thing, I want you to remember today, it is the people. That's kind of really what makes or breaks digital transformation. And I guess sort of where do we start with that? So the first thing is having kind of a vision. And my favorite example of this is JFK, when he said, look, within a decade, we need to go to the moon. Now, originally he wanted to go to Mars, but it was just, he was told that it was too far. The engineer said, there's no way we're getting you to Mars. How's the moon as a compromise? So yeah, he agreed. And then they got there within 9 years. And it's that sort of bold vision that was broadcasted publicly that made it work. There was no detailed plan. It was just a very, very simple kind of, they didn't have the know-how, they didn't have the technology, but they had the will, and they said, we've got a realistic timeline. 10 years is a realistic timeline. The next thing is about creating alignment. So this is a client of ours in Estonia, which is Baltic states. And essentially we were approached by their CTO to help them with a digital transformation program. Now, the CTO was very much on board, so was the CEO, but the rest of the team were not on board. They didn't want to transform. They were happy with the product. So we had to prepare in advance a very sort of good deck explaining the benefits of user research, testing, validation, and how that's going to actually give them even better return on investment. Because they were saying, look, if it's not broken, why do you want to, fix it? We were saying that there's competitors, there's new technology, we can make it faster, we can improve the SEO, we can get better conversions, and it's those type of things, make it more exciting, emotional engagement. The next thing is about creating sort of pinnacles. As I said, start off with why, to really sort of understand it. Why are you doing what you're doing? And then basically build those pinnacles into like a poster. We're doing this because of X, Y, Z. Have a poster that broadcasts it. Don't just sort of send out emails or Slack messages. That's not enough. You have to hang it up on the wall so people understand your vision and mission. And this, I think, quote sums up this section quite nicely. So, all of this is great, but without speed, we're not going to get anywhere. And speed, I think, is one of the fundamental layers of kind of lean and thinking lean. You need to get things out there fast. So let's talk a bit more about lean, which, as mentioned, was invented by Toyota. And essentially, it's all about experimentation, hypothesis, and things like that. And I could talk about that all night, but this is a good example of the Amazon Go, which is a marketplace. Is anyone here not heard of Amazon Go? It seems like you all, well, a couple of people. But Amazon Go is a sort of a marketplace that essentially you walk in with an app, and you can kind of, that app recognizes who you are on your phone. And you don't have to go to like a checkout or cashier or anything like that. You just take your items and you just go home. So you're not a shoplifter. Essentially, it recognizes that you've taken the items and you've paid for them through the app. So it's fascinating. But the interesting thing is it's an experiment. It's not actually real in the real world at the moment. They're just trying to sort of gauge kind of reaction. And it's not too dissimilar to what Dropbox did when they first launched their kind of Dropbox. It wasn't even a product, it was just a video explaining what Dropbox could be. Here's the video, this is what we're going to be doing. And then they managed to get hundreds of thousands of people to sign up. So that's how they got their funding. kind of move forward. This is an example of, has anyone here not heard of Monzo, which is like a new type of bank? Hands up if you haven't heard. Essentially Monzo, they're trying to be a bank as smart as your phone. So essentially what that means is, instead of going to the high street, you have a bank as an app on your phone, you do everything on the phone. Pretty much that's your banking experience, is through the phone. Of course there's customer support, but there's no branches or anything like that. And they're not the only player, there's quite a lot of companies out there now that are doing this type of model, which is really, yeah, it's a quite fascinating kind of model, like transforming banking and the financial world. What I really like about what Monzo are doing is they're promoting accessibility. So what I mean by that is helping sort of people who have mental health issues like anxiety, and so essentially you can choose how Monzo get in touch with you, whether it's going to be a phone call, an email, or an instant chat. And you can also set up like alerts. For example, if you spend over £100, it notifies one of your relatives and says, look, you know, Fred spent £100, he's gone on this spending spree, you know, rein him in. But all of these are experiments. They're not actually, they're not releasing them to the general public until they've got like a validated model and they know that these things work. And it's important to start with low fidelity. David and Louise started Green Kitchen. Have you heard of that blog before? It's a vegetarian blog which is very famous. But they started it as a simple WordPress website, just talking about their passion towards vegetarian food. And it sort of went viral. They had tens of thousands of users every month going online to check their recipes. They then released an app. That app went viral as well. And they then got approached by publishers, released a series of books, and then even launched a sort of a watch app as well, an Apple Watch app, which again became really successful and one of the top selling apps out there. And I think this sort of quote sums up this section really nice. I mean, true disruption comes from those that adapt really quickly, and not from the most intelligent or sort of strongest or richest business. So it's just a really good quote even today. So thirdly, knowledge is power, and we believe at CyberDuck that by communicating kind of who you are, what you stand for, this is our brand Bible, by the way, at CyberDuck. So it's got the essence of our brand, the values of the brand, what we're trying to do, where we've come from, the name. Everyone asks me why CyberDuck. It's a question I get asked quite a lot. So we kind of built all of that into this Bible to sort of communicate all of this important information and empower our marketing team. So it's almost turned into its own sort of little mini intranet where marketeers and designers and developers can get boilerplates, templates, and things like that. This is another example of sort of how digital transformation and HR work together. So essentially here for this particular client, we developed a sort of a game, a very sort of gamified experience which focuses on emotional leadership, and all of the employees who are sort of young execs that go on to this particular game, all of the data is fed back to their managers who can then help them to improve sort of various kind of business management kind of skills. So in turning it into a much more friendly, much more focused on the customer through videos and fun and things like that. So I've already mentioned investing in the supply chain, but if you are going through a digital transformation, you have to look at your suppliers as well. And I think this particular quote is really good. It's from Jack Welch, who famously increased GE's share price by 4,000% in 20 years. But we've slightly adjusted this quote here because this quote is about the rate of change, but if actually the rate of learning outside your organization is faster than inside, you're basically dead. You have to learn faster than anyone else if you really want to be successful with your digital transformation. That is really key. Just kind of covering a few bits about marketing as well. I I think, Ryan Hoover, the guy that invented Product Hunt, which is probably the world's most successful website for finding products, apps. It's become really, if you haven't heard of Product Hunt before, check it out. But he kind of put together some principles around sort of marketing new products, which is targeting influencers, indulging early adopters and listen, exclusivity, scarcity and urgency, as well as seeding content in communities. And he kind of managed to start off with very little money and just kind of engage the right type of communities and give them exclusivity within this kind of product hunt. So he's essentially targeting like Silicon Valley entrepreneurs and saying, look, you'll be the first person, you'll have an exclusive place in kind of my marketplace, everyone will hear your voice, and that's kind of how he seeded it all up. I mean, I think at one point he was sending 200 tweets a day, like all by himself, just sort of targeting influencers, listening to what they were saying and gradually improving his products like that. And that kind of goes to my next point, and connectedness is what sells. So when J.K. Rowling released the book The Cuckoo's Calling in 2013, she actually released it under a false name, and she sold 1,500 copies in a month. The minute that she declared that it was her that released the book, I think it was actually through a press leak, it wasn't intentional, she sold 1 million books. So it's just pretty mad. I mean, and what we've done at CyberDuck is we've helped one of our large PLC clients to connect lots of their brands together through widgets, and it's massively improved brand awareness and how people connect to other brands, in terms of like increased traffic, better conversions and stuff like that. You can also now, in the world of kind of marketing and digital transformation, leverage on artificial intelligence capabilities. So we, at CyberDuck, we released an app called UX Companion. I've got Andrew, who's the main designer here in the room. There are obviously other people from CyberDuck involved that are not all here. But essentially we've got 50,000 users of that app. It's a simple glossary. And what we've done is we've turned the app into sort of an Alexa skill. So I'll just play you a short video.
UX Companion is a handy glossary of user experience theories, tools and principles. What do you want to know?
Tell me about user experience.
User experience is a blanket term for all factors which influence the user's perception of a product or service.
So essentially it's a way for marketeers and brands to put their product services out there and have them as sort of almost artificial intelligent sort of assistants. So you can actually, if you have an app or a website or product or service, you can build it on the Alexa platform or the Amazon Echo platform and connect your users in new ways. I mean, there's one guy in the office, Gareth, you can speak to him afterwards. He's here. I mean, he turns his lights on in the morning. He does everything in his home through this particular platform. So it is really revolutionary. Saying that, there's so many marketing kind of opportunities for whatever you're doing. So the key, I think, is really to focus, and you can't do it all at once, and you have to start sort of slowly and gradually build it up. So this is the fifth part. There's one more section after this. This is probably one of the most important ones, and it's about focusing on the user. So when you're sort of doing, this is who we're working with a client, it's a huge educational provider, like absolutely massive. They have tens of thousands of students all over the UK. And they're going through a digital transformation process, which is taking a long time. But in order for us to begin, we had to actually map out what they have already. Like we had to run some audits and create almost a bird's eye view of what the user experience is at the moment, because they have multiple websites, multiple apps, multiple systems, hundreds of people behind the scenes doing things. So where do you start? And essentially, using these sort of diagrams, it's really good. Due to sort of confidentiality, I can't show you the full screenshot, but as part of working with this client and helping them with the user experience, we did ethnography, following the users and looking at how they're interacting at the moment with the educational content. So what we found with this particular user and many others is that they were sort of opening PDFs on one screen and the learning platform on the other, and they kept copying and pasting, using like a split screen mode. So that kind of gave us a lot of creativity and ideas to really sort of bring those two interfaces together as part of the sort of prototypes that we're developing for them. So these things really do help. There are also quick wins as well, like A/B testing or split testing. So here with this particular client, just by making the search larger and removing some of the clutter, so we didn't design this originally, but we designed the improved version. We increased conversions by 4%, which resulted in a substantial amount of money for our client. And anybody can design things, but one of the key output of digital transformation are sort of interfaces, and they have to be designed carefully. Like these interfaces are like gold dust. So if you haven't heard of Ben Schneiderman, check him out. He's one of the sort of inventors of modern day usability. And I really do like this quote, because ultimately if your interfaces aren't working for you, it's just not going to be good. Just sort of into the final section now, which is sort of thinking, working in an agile way. And of course, a lot of people here are from digital kind of trades by background. But the point is, you're not always, and I think Abby's going to cover this in the next talk, you're not always going to be working in organizations that people are native, agile natives or digital natives. They're going to come from different backgrounds, and you're going to have to be an agent of change. So trying to sort of sell agile to everyone and get it to work in a more traditional business is not an easy thing. One of the things that we really like is something called the design sprint. So it's something that you do within a week. Hands up if you've heard of it. So yeah, probably about 30% of the room. But essentially you come in on Monday with an idea. Of course, you do have to do some preparation in advance. And then by Friday, you walk out of that room with a prototype, which you've actually tested with real customers. It's something that we've been doing this for a while, blending it into our own process to try and sort of really create rapid prototypes. Also part of sort of the agile or lean mentality is about the org chart, and sort of, again, this is a bit of a parody, so like VP of Hype is my favorite job title, and Director of Shiny New Things. But the point here is that if you're creating or sort of going through a digital transformation, you have to make sure that you have very focused kind of org chart with a clear kind of hierarchy, because if you try and let everyone manage everything, you're just going to end up with chaos. So you have to have like really clear job descriptions, list of sort of responsibilities, and make sure that there's clear definitions on which meetings you're having and sort of when and who's responsible. And I think ultimately, talking to the customers day to day, I mean, the amount of meetings I go to with new clients where they don't do any user or customer testing, they just don't do it. It's just outstanding. It's 2017, guys. Very few people do customer testing and focus on the customers. So I think Abby's going to cover this in a minute. It's really important to engage users in everything, and you're not delivering a feature, you're actually solving the problems, and you're validating and testing those problems to make sure that you've solved them. So yeah, just to wrap up, obviously there'll be time for questions. The key thing to do is develop a vision and have alignment. Not everyone's going to agree with all your ideas, especially when you work with third parties, it gets even more difficult. You can train all you like, but once you get into the real world, you have to deal with some tough personalities and very kind of difficult situations. And I think the key thing is to have a can-do culture. So experiment with and research edge cases as well, like power users, laggards, all of these sort of people, disabled users, people with mental health issues. These are the people that you need to be talking to day to day. Start small. Create sort of pinnacles. So I can't sort of stress how important communication is, so everyone is actually really, really clear on what you're doing. Even if you sort of have a meeting and announce your vision, that's not enough. You have to be doing it every few weeks and reminding people so everyone is really clear, and do sort of surveys in the office just to make sure that everyone is clear on the vision. Make your digital transformation connected to the influencers that you know, so they could be your suppliers, they could be other brands that you work with. And don't sort of get into sprint obsession mode. Sometimes people can become too agile and completely miss the bigger picture of what's actually happening. You know, yes, the sprints are great, but don't become too obsessive over them. And remember, the digital transformation never ends. It's an ongoing process. So yeah, so thanks again. So we're from CyberDuck. Happy to sort of take a couple of questions depending on time and stuff like that. Yeah, so thanks a lot.